So right now we're finishing up gut health, blood sugar. We are diving into the world of gut health coming up. So starting in the summer, that is the new theme for the next magazine. That's the new theme for the podcast. So I decided let's do a presentation on gut health. And before we begin, I'd love for you guys to throw in the chat, when you hear the word gut health, what comes to mind? Probiotics, great. Probiotics, healthy microbiome. So green enzymes, kimchi. I love the way is it. Serotonin. Oh, great. Better elimination, digestion. Okay, great. You guys have fantastic answers all over the spectrum. Digestive system, inner eco, bacteria, kombucha. Okay, you guys are way more advanced in this. I think most individuals, or I did think gut health is your digestion. So just your digestion, what comes in your mouth and what leaves. We're actually one big tube from the mouth all the way out to the anus. So it's more, which you guys have nailed, it is more than just digestion. It's about that entire ecosystem. I think, Tabitha wrote with your bacteria, Robin wrote brain health, digestion, constipation, enzymes, healthy microbiome. So it's that entire ecosystem within our bodies. And so I want to explore what gut health truly means beyond digestion. So again, like I mentioned, we're one big tube starting from the mouth, going all through these different organ systems, and each different organ system has their functions. But the digestive system role is much bigger than food breakdown. So we're going to focus on these today of what are some of the various vital functions that our gut health does? So we mentioned digestion and nutrient absorption. So we've heard, especially in the supplement world, it's all about absorbability. And I think I was actually talking with Mike Corrigan, who was one of our master herbalists who helped create our formulations. It's more than just what are we absorbing. It's also what are we eliminating. And I think Niki also talks about that as well. But our immune system regulation. Our immune system is so much interconnected between our gut health. The synthesis of vitamins and short chain fatty acids. We're going to have an upcoming episode on the podcast talking about short chain fatty acids, the importance of them, how to produce more of them, our metabolism, our energy, the brain to gut connection. We're going to have, I'm giving you guys little teasers, Dr. Dale Bredesen on the podcast talking about the connection between the brain and the gut. And then again, protection against pathogens. So again, coming back to the microbiome is that ecosystem living within our body. It's full of bacteria, live things happening. We'll get to a cool stat coming up. So what is the gut microbiome? It's that ecosystem, but it's full of bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, creating this community within us. And it just because we see the word bacteria in viruses and fungi, it doesn't mean that these are all bad things. There's a balance of good bacteria and bad bacteria that we want in the body. And there's even research that shows that a healthy balance of bad bacteria in the body is helpful to create our resistance and our resilience within our immune system. So why is this all important? So again, we want to have that balance between the good, helpful bacteria and the bad one and the yeast in our digestive system because it's connected to so many different things. So I wanted to pull out some of the examples. Digestive health, that could look like constipation, diarrhea, bloating. Immune system, if we are constantly getting sick, antibiotics is a whole other conversation. But to build a strong, resilient immune system so that you don't have to live in a bubble, that you can be outside, you can even possibly be around other sick individuals and not get sick because you've created such a resilient immune system. If you struggle with mental concerns, anxiety, depression, that could be underlying a gut issue, very much linked to metabolic issues. So obesity, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, any sort of blood sugar imbalance, and then again, disease prevention. So here I pulled out some very, very specific examples of if you struggle with any of these, it could be an underlying gut issue. So body odor, eczema, rosacea, brain fog, joint pain, getting sick easily, chronic fatigue, poor sleep quality, food sensitivities, gas, bloating, acne. I think one that surprised me so much the more I learned with gut health is this whole food sensitivity world. And I will say I am the number one person to sign up and pull out all these different things out of my diet. But when we can introduce some real food back in, whether that is dairy or whether that is some of these other foods that we've eliminated, we're building a more resilient gut to help us through so many different functions. Now, obviously, there's a time and a place to pull out. My mom has celiac, so there is absolutely no working your way around gluten in the system. But if you struggle with a lot of food sensitivities, Duran will joke when he first had my interview, I just got some food testing done and I was allergic to like chicken and spinach and just everything. Somehow I got hired after all that. Okay, so some interesting facts. Our bodies have more bacterial cells than human cells. We are more bacteria than we are human. I think that is so fascinating. 75% of immune cells are housed in the gut. So we spend so much time talking about the brain to gut connection, but what about the immune to gut connection? Again, the root source of, I would say, the root source of so many different of our health concerns are really housed in our gut. A single course of antibiotics can disrupt the balance of gut bacteria for up to 1 year. I've even heard, and maybe it was Hannah, I've heard 1 year to 3 years, a single course of antibiotics. And again, we're not anti-pharma, but really taking into consideration that hopefully that can be the last step that we go towards. What can we do? And also, sometimes when we're suppressing these acute issues, that's what can lead to chronic issues. So when we allow the acute issues to what Darren always presses into, our body has this unique innate ability to heal itself. So when we get these very benign, mild acute issues, allowing our body to actually do its course. Hippocrates actually said, if we can create if we can create something to create a fever, we can cure all illness, all disease. Hippocrates said that, meaning the fever is actually what's helping us break through some of these issues and help heal and cleanse the body of these concerns. So when we suppress that, that's another story. So 90% of this body's serotonin is produced in the gut. We have nearly 100 trillion microbial cells in the human body. And research shows, that was my DSHEA compliant way of saying there's a very strong connection between a healthy gut and metabolism. So we've talked about how our bodies are intricately connected to the well-being of our gut microbiome, but I want to now, let's make this practical. What does this mean for me, and how can I actually check if this is something that I need support in? So one thing you could do is ask yourself some of these questions after you finish a meal. So to evaluate what shape is my gut health in? So the digestive discomfort, are you bloating right away? Are you having cramps? What's going on? Your energy levels, are you ready to sit on the couch and fall asleep? That's not normal. It might be common, but it doesn't mean that it's a normal reaction. We should have energy, maybe not necessarily shooting off the walls. That could be an indicator of maybe a high carbohydrate or sugar consumption. What's our mood and mentality like? Are we, mood swings? What's going on? Symptom triggers. I know I'm kind of going out of order, but symptom triggers is our inflammation, or some of the, maybe if we have eczema or if we have some other autoimmune, are those starting to trigger off? Regular bowel movements. How soon after are we using the restroom? And if you are squirming with poop, this is going to be a fun call for you because we are going to talk a lot about it. So there's something even simpler we can do beyond asking us these questions, and get ready in the group chat. What is the easiest way to determine gut health? You poop. Exactly. And I know it's such a touchy subject for people, but it is such a good determinant of what our gut health is without doing lab work and stool tests and gut mapping. Yep, and skin, absolutely. So your poop. This I thought was some cool graphics. These are all different types of poop in the body. My mom always said I probably shouldn't share this publicly, but she always said I should do some work in the poop field because I just find it fascinating. So if you haven't heard, this is the Bristol stool chart. We categorize, or experts categorize, poop into 7 different types. And I know you might be listening, you're like, okay, this is the last thing I want to hear about. But maybe you aren't pooping optimally. And we talked about earlier, all the other things that this affects that you might not even be thinking about. Maybe you don't have, maybe you're asymptomatic, meaning you're not actually feeling symptoms in the gut. You're not feeling digestion and bloating, but you're feeling the brain fog. You have skin issues, you have food sensitivities, you have low energy, you have mood swings. This all comes back to the gut. So any guesses in, kind of gives it away, in the group chat, what the optimal poop type is? There's actually 2 different ones. What is the optimal poop type? 3? Yep, 3 is one of them, 3 and 4. So we have a spectrum of constipation all the way to diarrhea. This is something that I actually learned bananas. Yep, exactly. That diarrhea can actually, maybe many of you guys know this, diarrhea can actually be very severe constipation on the opposite, because you can actually be so, like, if you look at 2, you are so clogged up that the only way for liquids to get through is it actually goes around the poop and comes out. So if you are very severely diuretic, that could be severe constipation. And I was going to do, and I love how interactive everybody is. I was going to make this an anonymous chat so everybody can talk about theirs, but it seems like people are all for it. So good job. Okay, so I made this chart of different ways that we can help optimize our stools. So you have this spectrum of 1 through 7. And so the number 1 is going to be that severely constipated. A few different things you can do, and some of them are pretty, across the board the same. Increase fluid intake to soften the stools. You also want to include more fiber. So maybe listen if you are in this 1 range. If you are having these nugget-sized poops, maybe you're going every other day, every 3 days. Hannah, save these comments because I want to look at all these later. So increase your fiber-rich foods. Lifestyle. Here are a few things, and this is across the board. Dry brushing. So dry brushing is this like horsey kind of brush. You can get it from any health food store. It stays dry. And what you actually do, and I do it before the shower, is you're going to brush your entire naked body, always going towards the heart. So if you're starting at your feet, going up towards your heart, what this is going to do is it's going to increase your lymphatic system, getting things moving and out of the system. So it's going to help support elimination. So that's dry brushing. Sweating. I remember years ago, people would brag about how they're not sweaters. Maybe great if you don't produce odor, but if you're not a sweater, we need to find a way to sweat, because sweating is a way that we eliminate. So whether that's in a sauna, whether that's running, whether that's in a really hot bath, whatever you can do to promote sweating. Walking, it doesn't always have to be anything intense. Twisting yoga moves. So, I don't know the name of them, but twisting yoga moves. Rebounding, it's really just jumping on a trampoline. You can purchase these small, I think they blew up during COVID, these small trampolines. It's bigger than this. A single person can jump on it. That's going to be really good to help promote lymphatic. Regular colonics. I know colonics can be controversial. I'm actually going to have a colonic specialist on the podcast. I'm going to be talking about that. Really what that is a professional, somebody else does an enema on you. So that's going to help eliminate if you are severely constipated. If you have any questions about colonics, I'm happy to talk about them and give you a little bit of guidance on that. But if you are severely constipated and backed up, these could be a good way to help get the regularity going again. Stress management, establishing a routine. By that, I mean a pooping routine. So I know that some people are, hesitant with using the restroom at public. Maybe you're at the warehouse and you don't want to go in the bathroom. Figuring out a way that we can implement a routine into our day so that our body starts to learn this is the time to poop. Hydration, that's key. I think so many people are naturally dehydrated. Your pee should be clear with just a tint of yellow. It shouldn't be completely clear. That means we're kind of excreting a lot of our vitamins and minerals. If you obviously just took your supplements, it might be a little bit of neon, but we want to make sure our pee or our urine, sorry, is more on that translucent side. Dietary modifications, maybe that might be eliminating dairy or gluten or refined foods. Mindful eating, I know this is something I'm not great at. How many of us eat while working, while watching a YouTube video, standing? If you're a mom, we probably are doing all of that at once. Dads too. But when was the last time you sat down and you ate with no distraction? Actual monotasking. I don't even know if that exists anymore. Let us know in the chat if you do that. Squatty potty. So there is this like little, I don't know what it's called. I don't know the name of it, but it's like a pulley on our colon that when you're sitting kind of like how toilets are meant, like this, the colon is actually being squeezed. But when you're sitting in a position like this, you didn't realize you guys were going to get into a call like this, it's actually opening up and allowing your body to eliminate much better. If you don't want to buy a squatty potty, if you have a little stool, you can use that. Or let's say you're going to a friend's house, yeah, you got to poop, grab a trash can and put your feet on the trash can. So that's going to help create that position. You can even lean a little bit forward, and that's going to help open up that the colon and create a more optimal elimination. I don't even know if we have time to get into all of these, but I can even share this so you have a little bit more. But hopefully, while I've been talking, you've kind of honed in on your type and figured out what would be beneficial. All the supplements down at the bottom are fantastic formulas that are going to be helpful. Digestivity, pretty much great for anybody. I'm going to do a deep dive with Mike Corrigan on why those herbs are so great. Regularity is one of my favorite products. I love to take this in combination with Purity at night to help with the elimination. Saccharomyces boulardii, really great for that traveler's diarrhea. So if you're more on the diuretic standpoint, Inner Eco is one of our favorites. And the original one, the blue one, babies, kids, pets can use it. You can use it topically. If you get a UTI, slap that on a pad. It can be used for so many different things, but start putting that. There's going to be prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics in there. Keto digestivity, whether you're keto or you just eat a high fat intake, this formulation is going to be great. We have bile salts in there. Bile is absolutely incredible at help breaking down that fat, especially if you've had your gallbladder removed. IB Soother, love this one. So if you have more severe gut issues, constipation, diarrhea, you look at food and you're already bloated, that could be also an indicator of something more severe like SIBO or EMO or all these different conditions. Inflammation. I mean, all of this is kind of an inflammation of the gut. Circularity, help promote that movement and that regularity. And N-acetylcysteine is also going to help support the gut health. Okay, we don't have time for that one. I think this is the last slide. So I wanted to talk about this real quick. So a few common mistakes that impact your gut that you might not normally think of. Antibiotics, there's a time and a place for them again, but I would say if you are taking one antibiotic a year, or if you've taken one in the last 3 years, I would say look into healing your gut. And let's say you do get a UTI or some sort of infection that you need an antibiotic. I promote looking into alternative ways to help that your body recover on its own prior to going to antibiotics. But if you want to go to antibiotics, more power to you. Stress, that's a huge factor. So if we are constantly having gut issues, if we calm our nervous system, that's going to help calm the gut. Physical inactivity. So if we are not moving enough, if you are struggling with going to the restroom, go out for a walk. It could be a 10-minute walk. Maybe even throw a bunch of layers on, get that body sweating again. Coffee consumption. So many people think that is going to, that's what helps me poop, but that's not really the root cause of what's going on. It's a stimulant, but it's not going to help us on a regular basis. Fiber increase and neglecting hydration. If you're increasing your fiber, but you're not increasing your water intake, that can actually create more gut issues and create more bloating, kind of like that snowball effect. So if you're increasing your fiber, making sure you're upping your water intake. Dehydration, again, sleep and stress, very linked. Alcohol can disrupt the gut barrier, that mucosal lining. If you've ever heard of leaky gut, it's kind of creating these perforations or these holes in the mucosal lining, and things can start to come out and go into your bloodstream. Antacids, that's a huge one. I know Shelby mentioned that. A lot of times if we're having heartburn, we think we just pop these Tums. That's going to solve it. Most cases, it's actually too little of acid. And then if you have, if your poop is black, tarry, bloody stool, I'd advise looking for medical attention.